The year came and went very quickly, with a lot of ups and downs. Some anime managed to surpass extremely high expectations from even their biggest detractors, while others managed to disappoint even their biggest supporters. But we have to see to the future, and to the future we will go, and now I'm gonna talk about the 10 most highly anticipated animes of the year 2026. At least in my opinion. In reality, we can actually make a list of the top 20 or maybe even 25 of the most anticipated. But as always, we need to make the cut somewhere, and some really big shows are gonna be absent to this list. For obvious reasons. There might even be shows that are snubbed of the honorable mentions, however I want to keep it as compact and as logical as possible. So now we will see first what is the shows that barely miss the cut for one reason or another. The first group of animes that barely miss the cut is composed by 4 in all: the third season of Dandadan, the second season of Dungeon Meshi, the second season of Bocce Rock, and the anime of Omniscience Reader Viewpoint. All of these shows would have been in the conversation of the top 10, and a couple of them would have even been easily in the top 10 if it wasn't for one reason, and is that none of these shows have a confirmed date to 2026. Bocce, Dungeon Meshi, and Omniscience Reader do not have a confirmed date for any year so far, so we do not know if they are gonna come out in 2026 or later. And in the middle of recording this, the third season of Dandadan was confirmed for 2027, meaning that regardless it would have not qualified. And there's also 2 other animes that are missing the cut, in both Jujutsu Kaisen The Calling Games and Apothecary Diaries the third season. Both of them would have undeniably made the top 10 of the year, so why am not including them? Well, that is because both of them are gonna come out in batch seasons, meaning that the full season is not gonna be available from the get-go. The Calling Games are uncertain in whether or not both of the parts are gonna come out in 2026, and in Apothecary Diaries is even more glaring because it's already confirmed that the second part of the third season is coming out in 2027. So because I do not like the idea of giving spots to shows that we do not know whether or not they are actually gonna be full, I will be forced to cut them prior to the list. At least you know that they would have been there if it wasn't for certain issues related with them. And something that is also not gonna make the cut is any sponsor, because I only have barely over 300 subscribers. So if you want to support the channel, leave a like, comment, subscribe. And with that shameless self-advertisement out of the way, let's start with the video. In the number 10 spot, we have what is undisputably the most anticipated show in this entire list. Or what should have been the most anticipated one. Because, yeah, I'm talking about the second season of Frieren. You see, in the list that I made prior to starting this video, it was undeniable that Frieren was gonna end at least in the top 2, but then something weird happened. It was confirmed that Frieren was gonna have a second season of only 10 episodes. Everyone was expecting it to be at least 20 to 26, similar to the first one, and including what is one of the most highly anticipated arcs in Frieren, which is the Gold City arc. But now with only 10 chapters, seems basically impossible for them to actually animate that as well, unless they absolutely botch the content. So if that is the case, then we are gonna be hating it. However, just because it was Frieren, and it's the second season of one of the most well-beloved animes in recent memory, it's still gonna make the top 10. Even if it's not the full experience of Frieren that we were actually anticipating and expecting it to be, it's still Frieren. So it's still gonna have an extremely high quality, and we will be watching it. In number 9, we have the second show that had to wait the longest for this to happen. I'm talking about the second season of the saga of Tanya the Evil, also known as JoJo Senki. When it came out, JoJo Senki was an actually very interesting anime, being an isekai that didn't follow the same patterns as the others. It didn't have that shameless, just regular magic copied every single time, but rather a very unique magic system, alongside being a combination or an in-between of World War I and World War II. Although while Tanya is not looking to become the most overpowered creature in its own universe, she just wants to eliminate the reason as to why she was isekai'd. The last time that we saw anything about Tanya was in February of 2019 with the movie, and the original season was almost a decade ago in 2017. So this spot might be more because of the fact that it's a very old series that is finally getting their second season, but also because it's one of those shows that actually deserved a second season, and for some reason it wasn't never meant to be until 2026. In the number 8 spot, we're going for a show that has managed to become one of the most anticipated every single time that there's a new season announced, in what is the third season of Oshinoko. The story of Ruby and Aqua that has managed to grow in the hearts of so many different fans, it's coming with its third season. After the fantastic introduction in the first season and the great screenplay arc of the second one, we will get what is the actual apex of the story in the arc of the movie that I'm not gonna say how it's called because that would be a very huge spoiler. Needless to say, with how highly regarded this show has become, this is gonna be a very important experience, and we still do not know if this is gonna also be part of the last arc of the entire show, and we do not know if that is gonna be changed yet, but still, this is undisputably one of the animes to look at in the year 2026. For the number 7, we have to go for what it is undisputably the most anticipated isekai of the year. And I'm sorry Mushoku Tensei fans, but we're not talking about you, but rather we're talking about the 4th season of Re:Zero. Although I'm personally not up to date with Re:Zero, I can tell that the story of Subaru is definitely gonna reach one of the most important moments of it so far, if not the most important, in the arc 6, that seems to be what is gonna be fully animated this time around. And we do have one of the most highly regarded shows of its own type in the isekai genre, and you put it with the so far best arc of the series, you just shut up and start looking at what is coming. And now going for a 6th spot on the list, and just barely missing the cut for the top 5, we have what is definitely one of those shows that when it came out, it wasn't really popular, but as time goes by, it has become more and more into one of the poster boys of the shonen genre of the 2010s and 2020s. Of course, is the second season of Black Clover. The story of Asta, kinda like its own anime, has been one of overcoming your own weakness and being able to be the best version of yourself. Starting very weak, but over time growing more and more to become what it is to this day. And now we'll see what we fans had been anticipating for so long, the anime version of the Spade Kingdom arc, the so far best individual arc in the entirety of the show. Although Black Clover still creates a lot of mixed opinions, it is undeniable that one of the more popular shonens of this decade, alongside a 5-year absence, is more than enough for it to be in this spot. And now, actually getting into a top 5, we get what is one of the most highly regarded shonens in recent memory getting its final season. I'm talking about the part 3 of the Science Future arc of Dr. Stone. It is a show that is very different to its peers in the fact that it's a shonen that barely ever focuses in battles, and it's more often than not focusing things such as discovering new stuff that is already known by us. With this unique experience, with a lot of unique characters, we have got over the years a lot of really good seasons, well respected by everyone, and not even hated by those that didn't like it. But now we will see the last part of the show, and that's why I'm giving it this spot in the list. Every year, there must be a newcomer that crawls into a top 10 of the most anticipated. And I think that this is a very well deserving one to be, because in the 4th spot we have Witch Hat Atelier. This show will be very different to the usual magical shows that you often see coming out every single season. This is a much darker story with a lot of huge plot twists that are gonna make you question what is actually even happening half of the time, in a good way. The story of Coco on her path to actually becoming a witch is much more than just that. It is a phenomenal experience to see how a magical world would actually be compared to all of those other fantastical and just precious things. A much more ground out, realistic experience, and very well done and well crafted in every possible regard. Of course, because it's a newcomer and we do not know what the anime is gonna make it about, we still are not certain if it's gonna be as good as the manga. But even if it's just half as good, it's gonna be a fantastic experience that several different people are gonna enjoy, and it's gonna have a huge rise in popularity, as long as it's worth to be called a proper retelling of the story of Witch Hat Atelier. Do you remember how I said that JoJo Senki was the anime that had to wait the second longest time to get a proper sequel? Well, the first one is one that is gonna come out really early in 2026. As early as this next winter season, we're gonna get the final movie of Madoka Magica. The original Madoka Magica came out in 2011, and alongside its high quality and its huge twist in the magical girl genre, it became such a popular show that it managed to have multiple different movies to retell the whole story as well. Alongside the third movie that was extremely highly regarded and extremely praised by several different people, and everyone was anticipating the fourth one. And that was in 2013. We had to wait over a dozen years to finally get the ending of the story of Madoka Magica in the movie Walpurgis Night Rising. With the time that has passed, everyone is questioning how good this is gonna be and are waiting in anticipation. Some people have the expectations through the roof and others through the floor, but regardless, that still doesn't change the fact that this is the most anticipated movie of the year and one of the 3 most anticipated animes for the entirety of the year, and maybe even one of the most anticipated animes in the entirety of the decade. And now I will go with the honorable mentions. Usually people wait to the top 1 spot to actually put the honorable mentions. However, I think that the top 2 animes are very obvious, and it's gonna be way more interesting waiting to see which is the one that I decide to put in the number 1 spot. So, because I think that that is way more interesting than just cutting it out in the middle to get the honorable mentions there, I'm gonna start with them now. The honorable mentions are the shows that barely missed the cut, or that wouldn't make the cut if it wasn't because of the fact that I forgot that they were not announced to 2026 either. Yeah, I'm very dumb and I forgot that a couple of them were not announced, so yeah, you can see that there's a lot of fun in my list if compared with the original honorable mentions. So the honorable mentions would go to Mayonaka Hearttune, the 2nd season of Dungeon Meshi, the 3rd season of Mushoku Tensei, the 2nd season of Cyberpunk Edge Runners, the remake of One Piece, and undeniably Rent a Girlfriend Season 5. Nah, just kidding. And now, for the 2nd spot on this list, we go for what is the 2nd oldest franchise that appears in this entire list as well. And talking about the final season of Bleach, also known as Bleach, the 1000-Year Blood War, the Calamity. All over the world, Bleach fans had to wait a lot. A full decade between the last chapter of the original Bleach anime until finally came out the Bleach 1000-Year Blood War 1st season. And after 3 full seasons of extremely high quality, the show is finally coming to an end. 404 episodes of the anime, 74 volumes of the manga, 705 chapters, 22 years since the first anime came out, and 25 years since the original manga came out. All of it is finally coming to an end with the final part of the Blood War arc, the Calamity. Now, there's only one show that could even have the possibility to overthrow the monster that was the Bleach final season to actually be in this spot. But how? It has to be huge. It has to be one of the biggest shows in history. It's almost unfathomable how something can be bigger than the ending of a franchise of 25 years of age. How about talking about the most highly anticipated manga of a 40-year-old franchise? But not any manga, but rather the 7th part of its series. Yeah, part. Because you know damn well that the number 1 spot in this entire list goes to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 7 Steel Ball Run. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure has always been an extremely unique franchise, completely different to any other manga ever created. That quirkiness and that bizarreness is the reason to why it has become one of the most highly regarded of all the country of Japan. And among all of its parts, the one that has gained the most respect out of anyone undisputably has been Steel Ball Run. The story is very simple and not weird at all. It talks about Johnny Joestar, a former jockey that due to his own horrible personality became crippled, and now he wants to run in a race around the entirety of the United States. Alongside his new mysterious friend called Gyro Zeppeli, he's gonna have to find the pieces of the corpse of Jesus Christ in order to defeat the President of the United States. As I'm saying, it's a very normal story that is not weird at all. But now, outside of the jokes, it's still to this day one of the most highly praised mangas of all time, being in the top 10 of basically every list that you can find in the internet. And there's a great reason for it. And now we are gonna see that insane story finally come out in anime format. The story of Johnny Joestar, Gyro Zeppeli, and Funny Valentine is one of the most interesting that has ever come out in any piece of media. And combine that with the highest peaks of what is one of the most experienced mangakas of all time in Hirohiko Araki, and you get, finally on anime format, one of the biggest masterpieces that the entirety of Japan can actually give to you. JoJo Part 7 is not only an extremely anticipated anime for 2026, it's not only the most anticipated anime of 2026, but might actually be the most highly anticipated anime for this entire decade. As always with this type of videos, there's always controversy on whether something should be in a certain spot or not. And that's why I want to question you how you would make this top 10. I think that I make a very good job, but it's still not perfect, and at the end of the day, this is a biased opinion, based only on me, myself, and I. So if you believe that a show should have been higher, should have been lower, or a show that I didn't even mention should have been in the top 10, comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed this video, I hope that you like and subscribe to see more content like this, and see you next time. Bye bye.